Very excited to be joined now by the great man, Dill Buckley. Good morning. How you doing?
Hey, team. How are we? Thanks so much for having me.
Oh, mate, so great to have you in. It's funny, like we've only just met this morning, but I feel like I know you already. I suppose you've got a lot of podcasts, been around for a long time, but you're a very warm human. I mean, you were having a chat with the lovely Vicky in
We're business partners.
in our reception.
We're actually business partners
Dude.
now. We're starting a meditation clinic. I can't remember where you guys cut us off. Yeah. I'd invested. I've given her, I think, $100,000. I'm not sure.
She does that.
She said she's good for it.
Yeah,
so,
she works on our reception here at Nova, and it was also very into like mindfulness and that sort of thing. But like, yeah, literally when we came out to like, hey, Dill, come in, I was like, is that his mum or something? Like, you're getting on like a house on fire, and I feel like that's the sort of warm personality you have.
So, Dill, you got a book, Honest Chat. Now, before we talk about that, I kind of want to just rewind for people that are learning about you now for the first time. So, I guess was your first entrance into the scene playing AFL footy?
Yeah, it was. I was born, played, did that, and then I went to the footy. So I played 8 years at senior level.
Yeah.
Mainly in the VFL, to be completely honest, and NEFL for those tragics out there that were living in Sydney and following that league. But played footy for majority of my life, and still look back on it so fondly. But it just feels like another person now.
Yeah.
Like, I'm still a massive supporter of footy, and I look back and I'm like, oh my God, geez, they're so strong. They're like, they hit each other. I'm like, oh man, like that. I have like the sorest neck now.
Yeah.
I sit down most of the time, and you ask me, what do I want to sit?
Yeah.
I was like, I'm just tired.
Yeah.
Getting out of bed in the
Who
morning.
did you play for in the NEFL?
Giants. So the Giants
Okay,
NEFL
yeah,
team.
yeah, of course.
Played 2 senior games as well. But
Yeah, right.
that's okay.
And then you played a couple of AFL games?
But 41. Yeah,
41?
Who's counting? Who's
Okay.
counting?
Carlton, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think
great.
so.
Yeah. Okay,
Liam's
so-
a Carlton.
Yeah, I'm a
fan,
big
so-
blue bagger, mate. Yeah, I think it's our year. I think it's our
I
year,
remember
guys.
Liam used to message me on Instagram, and he was like, you know, cooked my multi. I hate you. He was like,
It's funny.
I had you in my multi. I'm like, mate, just don't put me in your multi, please. Like, it's not going to go well.
It's funny you mention people DMing you, because I had a little listen to Dylan Friends the other day just to see what you were getting up to, and you had a chat about the AFL's arguably best player this season sliding into your DMs long before they were a big star. Do you know who I'm referring to?
Oh my God, I normally know all these stories, but I don't. Oh,
Yeah.
Will Day.
No, not that
Okay.
one. You do a lot of podcasts. It was Nick Dacos.
Nick Dacos.
Yes.
I forgot about this.
Yeah, so like he messaged you years before he was a big star.
Yeah, and this is like a thing, and I suppose you guys would find this maybe in your world too. And it's just like general. Like, I think maybe 3-4 years ago, there used to be this whole thing of like me versus you. I don't know if it's like a sports thing, but I was so competitive, be like, no, I'm never going to help that guy.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
you know that feeling?
Yeah.
Good. So that was like really big in my life, and I think like I look back on it. He messaged me when he was like 17 or something like that, and he actually was like bagging me, I think. But he's like, I'll be on your podcast one day, and I was like, yeah, I'll stuff this little bloke. I'm
Yeah.
not gonna. I think I just laughed back.
Yeah.
I was like, I should have probably took him up on that.
Now you're trying to get
him
in.
up on that now.
And that's lovely of you to say that, but in saying that, like you would get a lot of messages from people, and you can't be helping everybody. And you were not to know that he would turn out to be, possible Brownlow medalist.
Yeah, I know. But now I'm just having coffee with like 116-year-olds a week, just like trying to find the next one
Place
and
your
befriend them, stay relevant for a bit longer.
So again, just going back to the basics. So then you played your 41 games.
41 games.
And then so when did you start doing your podcast?
So I started doing I got delisted from Carlton.
Yep.
Like a breakup mutual, but they initiated it. And then I had like 30 days off. And in all seriousness, that was like the scariest 30 days of my life. I know everyone's probably been sacked once, 3 times, but no one's counting. So I remember just going like, oh my God, like, why did I waste those 6 years? I didn't do anything to set myself up. So I was like, no matter what I do, when I leave the next gig, if I get one, I want to like be more set up. And I think for me, I had no idea what I wanted to do, but I loved like radio, loved footy, and I was like, I want to get into radio, but I had no skills, as you guys would have, worked for years and studied in that space. I couldn't really do that. So I was like, I'll start a podcast, interview my teammates, and then have it as like a
demo?
Yeah, demo per se, to give them, be like, at least I've done this. Like I haven't just done nothing.
Yeah.
So I used to volunteer at like Triple M in Sydney. I go there once a week for 2 years with Liam and MG, just answer the phones.
Really?
Yeah, did that, and then started the podcast. And then when I left, I went and worked at 3AW for
That
a
would
year.
have been sorry if you called up Triple M and you.
But it was in
speak to
Sydney,
somebody-
so no one
I know,
knew.
but
And I was playing
is
Neefle,
this still
by the way.
what?
Is this Dylan from the Neefle Giants?
Is this Dylan from the Neefle?
Triple M
You were
so
playing at
into their-
Aspley on the weekend. You had 4 touches.
Triple M love their footy so much they get footy players answering the phones.
Yeah,
but that's
literally.
great.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
So yeah.
And this ain't just any podcast as well. I mean, Dylan Friends has gone absolutely gangbusters. I mean,
Yep.
like, all my mates listen to it. Everyone
Yep.
listens to it. You've got list cloggers as well. And now you've written this book, and it's you would think, oh yeah, no, it's in that similar vein. It's footy. It's having a laugh. But the book is Honest Chat: How to Tackle Feelings and Befriend Vulnerability, which I feel like is a really important book, especially for someone like your age and someone who's played AFL and the sort of platform you have to young men and women. So what is the book about?
No, I appreciate that. I suppose the book, for me, like one thing I always love to talk about, and this isn't my ideology at all. I learned this from a guy named Tom Harkin, which is probably my favourite thing ever. He runs Tomorrow Man. It's called having range, and I think the best way I can describe it is he says, if you can't bend, you'll break. And I think for me, I lived in that space for a long time, being like this, trying to be this like stoic, tough guy. The same story that we speak about all the time. Don't show any emotion, be embarrassed by your vulnerabilities, all those things. Until one day I was like, man, let's just own it and be a part of it. This is who I am. I am an emotional person. I have failed many a times. But started embracing that. I do as a lot of, I hate this word. I hate the word anxiety, but because I don't want to give it power over myself, but I've learned to embrace it as well. It's something that I've lived with my whole life. I used to think that I was just like a super nervous kid. Mum would just live on speed dial to pick me up from sleepovers at 2 a.m. Like never make it that far.
Yeah.
And I've lived with it like my whole life through my footy career, performance anxiety, and then when I left, it just creeped in other facets, and I've learnt how to manage that a lot better. Even relationships with my old man too, who suffered his own mental health issues. Of late too, he's had anxiety, depression, and lived with alcoholism his whole life. Which helped me open up those conversations with him. So I found like in a roundabout way from this whole like self-development of like learning about myself, it's actually helped me then help him talk to over 300 people over the show, learn their best tips and tricks. And I think the biggest thing I realized, man, is like we are all so cooked. Yeah. But it's like just I think the more you can embrace that, the more you can like just go, everyone goes through this. That's really helped me. And then the fact that like no one actually gives a shit, just like do your thing.
Yeah.
We're all too worried about ourselves. We're all the main characters of our own story, so no one cares what you guys are doing on the weekend. No one cares what I'm doing. And then it sort of sounds a bit sad, but after that, it sort of like made me like so much just easier to do.
But that's why it's so much more important and powerful, coming from someone like you, because as an outsider, you're like, oh man, that guy's got it made. He's bloody played AFL. His podcast is awesome. You know what I mean? So it's nice to know that it's like, yeah, everyone's the same, and you can be in a similar boat and be having a rough trot.
Is this book only for men?
No, not at all. It's for anyone and everyone.
Okay.
I love.
I'd be so rattled if you go, yeah.
No, you know what?
Sorry, Belle, hand your copy over.
If you said, you know what, kind of probably more for men, fair as well.
Well, I think that, like, to be completely honest, my audience is young millennial males. So it's based off my life, but it can be picked up wherever. It's not even meant to be read like front to back. It can be just read like chapters at a time. I encourage people. I'm not the biggest reader myself. Like I'm a
chapter guy.
I'm a chapter guy.
I might like 3 years later, I'll be like, yeah, might do another chapter of that.
And what I do too, as I was telling Vicky earlier, is I like to like highlight parts and I'll come back to it and stuff. So I found like these are just all the best nuggets that I've picked up over time from all the incredible guests that I've had on the show. That can pick you up, because like even this stuff, right? Like the book is basically just all my mistakes that I've ever made. There's about 16 chapters worth of them. There could have been
pretty
more.
good. 16 mistakes.
Yeah, 16 mistakes. Yeah. These are the ones I can talk about anyway. But through that, like I'm a big person in saying that like I'm 30 years old, man. Like I've lived hopefully like a third of my life. I've got so many more things to make. I'm not giving out advice to anyone. It's more just like, hey, this is what I've stuffed up. This is what potentially you could face, but go out and make the mistakes anyway, because you can be told things so many times until it resonates with you. you're not going to take it on board.
Yeah, absolutely.
so
So there's no point buying the book.
Oh no, guys! I think we got the condensed version. We haven't even hit 10 minutes yet.
Don't even worry about it.
A physical book, pretty sweet.
Yeah.
Have you had to do any signings? Are you going to do signings for them?
Yeah, we will. I got
How
like
fun.
3 people outside. I did a signing day the other day.
Yep.
So that was pretty hectic.
How's the wrist?
Wrist was good.
Yeah.
That was pretty cool. And then we're going to do a book sign. I'm not sure when it is yet, but we'll do that as well. But it's just so cool, like radio, podcasting, similar worlds. I don't know about you guys. You can say, like, we're going out to Melbourne, we're going out national. You forget that people are actually listening. And then when you meet them in real life, you're like, hey, like, how
Especially
are you?
if they
Like,
quote stuff back to you and
It's-
say, "Oh, I
it's
love that," and
unbelievable.
you're like, "Oh, you heard that?" Of course I heard
Like
that,
me
but-
going, "Oh, Nick Dacos messaging you." I have no idea what you're talking about. I
Yeah,
said,
creepy people like
Yeah.
that.
That was a past thing
Yeah.
from a podcast like 2 years ago, and that's the other thing. We've mentioned the book here, but we know you've got a big grand final brekkie coming up as well, which looks like it's going to be huge. And it seems like there's a real thing happening at the moment with social media and different people who love footy. You got your kick it forward guys over in Perth. Obviously, you do what you do here. There's like the Shep mates, and there's all different people like making footy videos, and it seems like you're sort of like aligning the cast. It's like the Avengers, of
basically.
footy chat.
Yes.
So who have you got lined up for your brekkie?
Yeah, it's really exciting. Like, my whole space in that is actually similar to what, when I was saying I couldn't get into sort of traditional media, I was like, far out, like if we could make something like this and have everyone come together. And I suppose it's so many other cool creators have come from it, like the Marmalade guys.
Yes.
And, Kick It Forward, as you said. We've got the tradies, 200 plus, Dan Gorringe. I know you're a big fan of him. but I think you thought I was coming. Did you think he was coming with me today? He didn't write the book. So.
It's the only reason we said yes to the interview. I'm still chasing him up for that beer.
We're coming together for a grand final show. So breakfast in the breakfast of grand final day, 10 to 1 p.m. at Crown Casino, Clubby Sports, powered by friends at Lululemon. Big shout out to them for getting around us. But I think for me, like, again, that couldn't get into the traditional. I want to go up against the North Melbourne breakfast.
Yeah.
Want to bury him.
Yeah.
No, I don't really. It's a different market, but I think it's for young people that want to come, have fun before it, and almost take the mickey out of doing something like that before grand final day and have a bit of fun. We're actually hopefully got swag on the beat coming as well.
Nice.
Oh, sweet.
We kicked a couple of the first ever torps with the Marmalade boys because they're from Adelaide.
Yes.
And we did one where we were living in a glass box in Rundle Mall, raise money for Lifeline. And the second time was we torped it over. Have you been to the Giant Rocking Horse before in Adelaide?
Yes.
You have?
No.
Giant
Giant rocking
I've
horse.
been
Giant
to the Balls
Rocking Horse.
Malls. I've been to the
Yes.
Balls Malls.
Yes.
Yeah.
The Malls balls.
Malls Balls. I've been to the Malls Balls.
You're in that one thing.
We had to try and torp the footy over the Giant Rocking Horse. We couldn't do it.
Yeah, no.
couldn't do it.
Where is that?
Well, it's
It's in the hills. It's about half an hour out of Adelaide.
I do want to do Adelaide. I actually must say it's a very beautiful place.
Yeah,
Hey,
but
gather
I'm
around next year.
I'm
Also,
coming to that.
Marmalade, they're having a real moment at the moment. I mean,
Ah, that
they were
game
like
they
sort of
have
like,
is
I remember
unbelievable.
they did the thing with the kicking torps people, and they tried to get to kick a torp with Gil McLaughlin. And just in recent times, they've just blown up. Like everyone
Well, they
coming to
started
their
doing-
Lockleys, like D-grade footy
Div
games.
12 resis.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're the Nick Dacos that I missed out on. Yeah, getting on that one now.
Look, make sure you get your hands on Dill Buckley's book. Honest Chat is the name of it, mate. An absolute pleasure, and you're welcome on anytime.
I'll come tomorrow.
Come to the phones.
Come to our
I'm
phones.
working reception. All right, see ya.